It's the SDG Podcast. Before we get started, you can check us out on the web at solutiondesign.com/podcast or find us on all the social medias, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Solution Design Group. Welcome once again, gentlemen. We got Chad Juttner, we have Peter Lawrence, and joining us again, Paul Weidel.
Hey, how's it going?
Paul Weidel.
Oh, sorry, Weidel. Yep. So we're talking about approachability today. That's all I got.
That's the intro. Wow, that's a little bit more
short
than usual.
We all work in the kind of the customer service business alongside of the tech stuff we do, and we work with customers. And I work with customers that come to me for help. And so in my line of work, approachability is very, very important. If people don't feel like they can come to me, if they don't feel like they can ask me questions, things like that, they're not going to get help. And they're going to live with their problems until it's an emergency. And that's bad. So,
or until they're mad enough.
Right. So I try hard to be approachable. If people break something accidentally, I don't, smack them around. Believe it or not.
Well, I don't think you can be a consultant without being approachable. I mean, it's kind of like you said, we're in customer service, but also we've got so much that we have, so many different people that we have to work with, and so many different teams, and we have to be, ready to be thrown in the deep end at a minute's notice, that you kind of have to be fairly approachable these days.
And
what do you do to be approachable?
That's a super good question. What do I do to be approachable? I mean, I smile. I be on camera when I'm meeting a client.
You're not smiling now.
Well, in these days and these troubling days and times of all remote, you kind of have to put yourself out there a little bit more than what you used to, right? Like, used to be, if I was working remote, I'd be like, well, I'm remote. I'm the only one remote, but that's okay. I'll dial in to the telephone and not have to worry about it. Don't have to put a smile on my face when I'm talking and make me sound smiley and happy, and just kind of like phone it in a little bit. But nowadays, with Teams meetings or other platforms, the opportunity to be on video is there. And, we've talked about that in the past, that it is one of those things to almost to stand out in these day and age, is to be on camera. Right now we have one product owner that is always on camera for everything. They are the exception. They're the only ones that's always on camera.
I think it should be everybody. That's just my own gut feeling.
Except there are times where you don't want to be on camera, right? Like, I can make the meeting, but I'm not feeling well enough to put a smile on my face or whatever. So
if I'm talking, I try to turn my camera off so that people can see who's on. I mean, I usually default to on anyway, but if I'm saying something, if the meeting is about me, I turn my camera on so that it just helps the connectivity a little bit more. But what are we talking about? So we're talking about approachability.
And Paul's question was
unapproachable from an IT angle, consulting angle. At least that's the approach. Okay.
Yeah. So Paul's question, I don't think we've fully answered yet. What does it mean to be approachable?
No, that was the first bullet. I don't know how many bullets there are on the list. Well, Paul, what are some things that you do to be approachable?
Yeah, Paul, you consider yourself to be approachable, right?
I do things to make myself approachable.
What are those things?
A lot of times I code. And when you code, there's this concept called flow. To be effective as a coder, you really want to almost isolate yourself from any distractions. Put in headphones, maybe turn your back towards where all the action is, and just hammer away at code. Mm-hmm. That's great if you want to produce code. We're not strictly coders, though. No. We are consultants. So when people interrupt you or have a question and do things that will interrupt your flow, on one side, I'm disappointed that I've lost my flow. I'm no longer able to continue that. But on the other side, maybe the more grown-up side of me, the more mature, I have a customer who wants something from me. I should see what they want and address that need. And so then, like you said, Peter, comes down to more of a customer service, or I'd say maybe a retail mindset of maybe smile a little more than you want to, ask what you can do to be helpful, act as though you're very happy that now you're seeing what somebody needs. Because really at the end of the day, you're serving our clients and they're our customers, and we should not. Well, we should make them feel like when we're helping them, it's positive. It's not an imposition on us. It's helping deliver value to them by helping.
So no, do not disturb on your phone or your communication device during the day.
I think it's okay to schedule some of that time if that's what you're expected to do. If the expectation is that I deliver code, I should be mindful that's what the people I work for want me to do. But on the other hand, I should plan for it. I should look at my day and maybe it's at my weeks and set a schedule, try and find time that I don't want to be interrupted where I can dedicate it, but acknowledge that there are going to be times when people will have ad hoc questions and will want my attention. And, sometimes it'll be in that time that I want to be in flow. And unfortunately that, I don't feel that I have the right to show that I'm irritated by it. I don't want to also overly welcome it, but want to accept that as just a pitfall of the job.
I mean, there's certainly those times that people, well, okay, so what does an unapproachable person look like somewhere?
Well, maybe they're just really difficult to, they don't make themselves available. So it's this mystery person that you can never get a hold of. But typically it's the eye roll, every time the body language. To me, approachability is, the main thing is just human kindness. You be kind to the people that show up at your doorstep, whether it's convenient or not. Punish them for asking you for help or coming to you.
Not knowing something.
Right. So
belittle them.
My sarcasm engine is usually running at a pretty high RPM. So I have to dial that back. Is it a customer situation where they're coming in as a customer, or is it a, coworker, work friend situation where they're coming in, for another reason?
Ask you about your day yesterday.
Yeah. Then the sarcasm flows. I get it out of my system. No. I just try to be nice and kind and friendly and keep my door open and, never punish people for showing up or for asking me a question or for bothering me at a bad time. I encourage people to come to me, even though my workload might be insane. Like, I still want people to come to me and report issues and things like that. Yeah. So those are the tougher times to be approachable because you're grooving on something, you're getting something done and it's important. And then this thing happens and it can be frustrating. And I don't hide my emotions very well. So
our advice has to be better than like, hey, just be nice and available. Right? Like, what else?
So my advice is bad. That we've established that.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying let's.
Okay.
So Chad, what are some things that you do to help out with that?
No, what I'm saying is like dig deeper into what that actually means day to day, right? And for me, approachability means people know me, and we've talked about this before. Where specifically for me, and this is my own whatever. I hate the word. I hate a lot of words these days. But wow. Like your personal brand, like people kind of know who we are. And I think I've got default icebreakers, where people know so many things about me now because of my personality, right? They know I like a specific beverage. They know I have a preference for a specific watering hole. They know that I've got a preference for a specific sports team. So like there's all of these aspects to these personalities that at work are kind of amplified, right? And intentionally so, right? Like, and specifically for this reason, Twins hats every day. So people know, it start to caught on that maybe I like the Twins and I talk about them all the time. I have a very specific beverage that I drink and people know that about me. And so that's like that's things that people say.
It's almost like it's above your head.
Yeah, it's like
I was just thinking that.
Little thought cloud.
I was going to say it's the thought button, and it literally
it's what he's always thinking about. Yeah,
that is what I'm thinking about.
You should get a thought bubble mat to go behind that.
Yes.
Those it's an
relationship
thing.
Building is part of that, having good relationships.
Well, not even that though. Like what I'm saying is people like I know certain things about our leader Helmberger, right? Like I know a lot about him. I know, 10 things about Sarah, who I lead the AI community with. I know a lot about people. And as we build up these personal brands within an organization, it gives people that might be hesitant to approach folks something to talk about, right? Like something automatic to come to you with. And so a lot of the times, like, I think it's a little over the top now for me, but like people just know, like, hey, Chad likes baseball. Like a lot of us are going to a baseball game tonight, right? I think the four of us will see each other at a baseball game. I will be drinking a specific beverage, watching prospects for a specific team, and then having an after party at my favorite watering hole. Like this night for me is the best of all possible worlds. Within an organization, your approachability, you could almost flip it and be the approachee and like will yourself out into your company's culture and build those relationships so that it does become a two-way street. I do that at work and I do that at the customer too. We just had a team happy hour, which is another thing that I think people know that I do once in a while. And I didn't just bring the team. I invited like literally everybody around us. We had folks from different departments that are never going to work with us, but now they know about us and who we are and that we are all fun. And so like that now in the office breaks down that barrier of I don't want to I'm not going to approach this person because blah, right? So
I know many things about Chad, and I can call him up and ask him. I can start with hey, did you see those twins? And oh yeah, here's this work thing we need to talk about. It's
so simple. Yeah. It's really silly. And then, and it doesn't have to be that blatant and that obvious for everybody. But like, I know by looking at, we use Slack internally. I know by looking at some of our communities.
Right.
There's folks that are passionate about AI. And there's folks that are passionate about grilling and barbecue. I think you've smoked a meat or two.
Yeah, just starting.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's been said, nobody beats Paul's meats. Right. So like these are just things that we know about each other. And once we build, that's what we do at our company so well, is all these opportunities to give people reasons to be around each other and find out more information about each other and share interests and stuff. I mean, God willing, the side effect of that is this approachability problem that we're talking about isn't as prevalent internally for us as an organization as it might be for us individually at our clients. And I'll stop.
It's funny. There's still some introverts out there that find it hard to sort of start that conversation with somebody, even though anybody from the company said, "Hey, Chad," on Slack to you, or "Hey, Paul," or "Hey, Kyle," or "Hey, Peter." We would instantly respond with a "hey" back and what can I do for you and how can I help you out, right? It wouldn't be like, what do you want? It's more of a, how can I help?
Well, and I think it's built interaction by interaction with individuals. Some are going to be more timid than others. Some people approach people more easily. I think that's a factor. So putting people at ease when they come to you, I think is and kind of hospitality, welcoming, hey, yeah, come on in. Yeah, what can I do for you? But you genuinely wanting to help them helps, genuinely wanting to be kind and a good person and, prioritize their issues if it's important to them, take it seriously. A lot of people will be very self-deprecating when they have a computer issue they can't figure out. And so a lot of times it's talking them down and saying, well, I tell you what, I won't expect you to be a computer expert if you don't expect me to be an account executive. And, different skill sets, don't worry about it. This happens. So it's, oh, wow. And he didn't make me feel stupid. And now I feel better now. Like, so now I trust that in the future, that's going to happen again. And so if I need something, I will go and talk to him. I won't avoid him. So I think that's critical. And that's where trust and good communication and all of those things can kind of stem from that. Because if you're not approachable, it's trust. Trust is bad. Communication is going to be bad. I think we've all seen the impact of working with people, and usually it's in IT, that are not as approachable as you'd like them to be, and the struggle that can be. So I don't want to name names.
And honestly, as far as reputations go, in an organization, IT probably has the worst reputation anecdotally than any other group, right? Just because history, the 80s, I don't know what caused it, but
Television shows,
yep. Even the IT crowd is kind of, they were maybe not as approachable as we would have liked them to be.
It's funny. I travel a bit for my current client, and I've heard over and over again about me, and I'm with a buddy, my buddy Greg, that we are the most, extroverted computer nerds at our current client that they've met, and I'm like, you've met two. Like, what do you do? Like,
how many of these nerds do they have lined up that they're comparing you to?
I know. I'd actually like to see my nerd competition, but I think it's a caricature of our career choice that has been perpetuated by media and a lot of other things. And we were all just at OSN. We kind of do it to ourselves a little bit, but not. I don't think to the extent that the public thinks. That's not us.
No.
Yeah, and I think that brings up a good point. And something that we do a lot of as consultants is make first impressions. You're making a first impression with a new person and a new customer, and it's good to understand that they might have some assumptions. They might have assumptions about you about consultants in general, about tech people in general. So that's, you have to really take advantage of those opportunities, kind of demonstrate that you're, I guess the word would be approachable.
There you go.
Yeah.
Paul, how about you? You had any hard nuts to crack out there that have been a challenge to be more approachable?
I think about, like, why do we have that reputation of being unapproachable? And I try and figure out what the things are that people do in our field that makes them unapproachable, and I try and make sure I don't do that. Try and figure out the opposite of it. I mean, one thing we can do, I know I'm not answering your question, but I'll finish this and then answer your question.
That's
one thing we do
right.
is, we have a reputation for making people feel stupid. The thing about what we do, there's so much going on and there's so much we don't know. Nobody's stupid. We just don't know things.
I'm going to mute Chad real quick.
But if you can just empathize with people when they have a question, they usually feel self-conscious asking it. And like Kyle said, if you can just empathize and say, oh, yeah, I didn't know that. I had to learn it or whatever. That's going to take their tension level, from whatever it was down about 4 notches. And they're going to remember when they worked with you, you didn't make them feel dumb. You probably could have. Even when, let's say, there every once in a while somebody does something that's, I'll call extremely ill-advised. And if you can help them fix it, save face, they're going to love that. And they're going to love that you did that for them. Next time, maybe they won't have put themselves in a situation where you have to do extreme measures. Maybe it's just a normal request and you can then help them and they'll still appreciate. Then back to the question, tough nuts. Yeah, there have been times where I've helped somebody out who's been, maybe not the most outgoing, the most friendly. I do what I said before. I help them out. I don't make them feel bad for getting into that situation. Then they open up. Then those introverts can be more extroverted. You just have to basically make them feel comfortable working with you. Then they'll open up like crazy.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely true. A lot of places you start with introverts, everybody staring at the table during a meeting or something like that, and by the end you're just having a normal conversation with people you work with every day. Pretty easy. So one thing that I've found that has been sort of a challenge, or some people put up those walls of sort of that initial question or initial response to your question, either shoot you down or it almost feels like they're attacking you, right? Like, say I had this question about this, and like, well, that's stupid. Why are you doing anything with that? It's like, well, okay, now I have to explain a whole bunch of other things and don't feel great about things. So that's certainly the anti-pattern I would say is a great way to make yourself unapproachable is to just lash out or make quick comments. And I know that's probably where part of the IT history of being unapproachable is, when people ask questions that somebody thinks is stupid.
There might have been a history of our job being a little more solitary than it is today, right? Like right now, IT is a pretty social job, right? Like we have to work with each other. We have to do pull requests. We have to do a lot of things that are way more group and team based than maybe existed, even 20, 25 years ago.
Right.
I used to be able to work kind of in a bubble a little bit and not have to interact as much. And, just playing devil's advocate, maybe that's where some of the perception of us being whatever. Then if you are in your own space nonstop, we kind of talked about this last week, right? Your psychological space is, not surrounded by a lot of differing opinions or differing roles or whatever. Yeah, I can see how maybe that fed into this unapproachable idea with IT. I don't know that that's the case anymore, though. So, but then again, there's no television shows or movies or anything really saying.
There's no TV show of a whole group of programmers getting together and having a great time programming or anything like that, really.
Well, I mean, Silicon Valley is out there, and that might have made it. Well, actually, I'd leave that out because that was a horrible example of what IT
good
is.
behavior.
Yeah. I mean, when I think of people I found to be difficult to approach, sometimes it's just one like thing that they do. I had a coworker that I would go to, hey, the customer wants to do this, and I'm wondering if you know how to, what that is or how to do that. And well, why are they doing that? Why aren't they doing it this other way? Why would they do it that way? And all of a sudden it's fighting with the customer through me for their life choices. And what if we just focus on not the customer, how? What if we focus on the actual problem to solve that? But there would always be that layer of that I'd have to get through of hearing all of that. And it was, it's not fun to listen to that. I don't want to question my customers directly because everything that people do happened for a good reason at the time.
Right.
And with what they had available, and you don't know that history or any of it. So it's focus on the problem, not how you got there. So that was always kind of a sticking point. And these little things can add up to make you very unapproachable. I try to have a nice area for people to sit when they come into my office. Now, my office is usually a cluttered mess, but that little area I keep nice so they have a comfortable place to sit. Otherwise, if it's just junk everywhere, it's maybe not an approachable place to go to. They don't want to be around all that clutter. Maybe they're a very neat, organized person. Who knows? I guess there could be a number of reasons and factors. And this is, I don't want to equate people as dogs, but the simplicity of it is if your dog runs away and finally you catch up to him and he comes back to you, you praise him.
Right.
If you punish him, he ain't coming back. My brother was my dog's buddy and I was my dog's dad. And so my dog liked to hang out with my brother a lot more than me because I was the guy that took the dog to the vet and to get a haircut and all of that. So
bad things.
Yeah. So I was less approachable. So what is the penalty then? What is the downside if you're not approachable?
What's the downside of being too approachable? That's a better question. There is a mental health aspect to this. If you're the guy that literally never says no to anything, then you're also never really saying yes to anything either because you got too much going on. There is a point at which you have to do what Paul talked about earlier, which is putting in your headphones or trying to literally trying to peer unapproachable or closing your door or whatever. If our role is deliver code and solutions and blah, 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 there has to be time that exists for you to do those things.
Right.
If all you're doing ever is answering questions, participate, being the guy that's in way too many meetings and, trying to solve too many problems, then your mental health is going to suffer a lot at some point, and so will the quality of the work that you do. Just, I would say be careful. I don't know, Paul, if you've had that issue or if you time box things better than some anonymous consultants do.
I've had that issue back when we used to all go into the same office and remote work wasn't really a thing. For some reason, I do seem to get assigned a work area that's next to a break room. That could be so. Everybody who's going on break, they see me and I try and be friendly and they say hi and or whatever. But most of them respect that. If my face is 2 inches from the monitor, they don't. I don't hurt their feelings when I don't say hi or I've got headphones on or whatever. There was one guy though who. Like he'd see me, and if I did not respond, he would start tapping the glass on my cube, or even like put his face up. I don't know if you've had that experience where another man puts his face like inches from your face and tries to say hi. Like,
even closer, buddy. Yeah.
Yeah. So you know what I'm talking about.
I absolutely know what you're talking about.
Yeah. That's probably an extreme example of being too approachable, and finding that balance and setting those boundaries, something you have to manage. Hopefully you don't have to manage that extreme of a boundary, but sometimes.
So did you get to that point like instantaneously, or did you just say hi one too many times and not realize it? Or
it starts with like head nods, just people. So there was a door that would open up. Like it would open, and if I turned, they were right there. I was here. There was a little piece of glass, and a half cube. And then if I looked straight ahead, there was the break area. People are always, oh, hey, we don't really know each other, and it gets to, how are you doing? And then they start talking. Well, if it's one person, it's not a big deal, but you get 5 or 6 of them a day. That time adds up, and it's time away from what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't know. I think most people understand that we all have responsibilities and we need to work and we can't be friendly all the time and chit chat, but not everybody's that way.
That's really interesting. Just being by the break room and I'm sure when you're first there, you want to be super approachable. So you head nod and wave and all of those things, right? And if somebody takes it as an invitation to talk about the latest political battle, or have you heard about this religion or that religion or something else, that might be a little bit of a struggle there.
Peter, are those real things that happen to you?
No.
Okay.
No. I'm just choosing the straw person of horribleness.
Yeah, okay.
Ever there's discussion of politics or religion or anything like that, I suddenly have to be somewhere else.
Oh, I dive right in. Go the opposite.
Just start scrapping
against the stream. Yeah,
I try to communicate with people. When I have my door open and people are walking by, if somebody drops in, I'll make sure that if I have something like in 5 minutes or 10 minutes that I have to get to, then I tell them right away, hey, how you doing? I've got 10 minutes. What can I do for you?
Yeah, Kyle, your room is almost on the way to the break room from the other side of the office. And I'm going to confess right now to being a little bit guilty of that person that drops in and says, oh, look, there's Kyle just sitting there waiting to talk to me. I know he's been waiting all day to say hi and have a conversation. So
I will close my door if I need to be heads down. And that's really just to prevent those drop-ins. Like I need 2 hours to build this workflow.
Right.
So I'm going to do it. And
I'll still wave at the glass though, but
yeah,
I'll just keep going.
And sometimes I'll wave back and, sometimes I'll unlock my door, and that way, I can wave people in and, or sometimes I'll tell people like, hey, if my door is closed, just go ahead and peek your head in, if somebody's dropping something off, it's like, well, I may be busy or whatever, but that person has a reason for being here and I need to have that interaction with them. So it's like, giving permission for people to interrupt you. I think that all helps because you kind of set the stage for how other people treat you. You kind of develop a relationship and way of working and what you kind of like Chad was saying, if you say yes to everything, I'm inherently a people pleaser. I want everybody to like me. And that does not work in my favor. because then I'm sacrificing things. And it's like, we don't want martyrs. That's not good. It's because it's not good for that person. So I say no more, or I say not, it's not going to happen as soon. I will not drop everything I'm doing for something that can wait a day or two. 5 years ago, 10 years ago, that might be different. And now none of my work's done. But some of that is, if it's an emergency, if someone can't work and they need my help so they can, like, to me, that's a number one priority. Like, then it's interrupt me. Please don't between 12 and 1 on a Friday, but most other times you can.
Oh, let me ask you, because like you said, you're a very approachable guy, right? And I agree. Has it ever led to like more work for you or for us as an organization? Like your whole strategy of like deliberately being a guy that people can go to for things, I would imagine, is kind of infectious, and they bring more things to you then, right?
Yeah, I can't think of a concrete example of when that's happened, but yes, communicating with other people, getting your name out there, getting people aware of what you can do, and by extension, SDG, our company, can do, has resulted in more work for us. I now can think of concrete examples. I've been at a client, the first one there, and the client was happy with me, probably in part because I was approachable, right, and I could work with people. I said, hey, do you have anybody else? And wouldn't you know it, we did. And we brought more people in, and we grew that relationship. And, soon enough, we had a handful of people when at one time we had one.
So let me ask you a question here. So rate what you think is more important as a consultant, being approachable and developing that soft skill set, or the actual technical skills that you're bringing to a client, which is
soft skills. I mean, the hard skills are good and important, but so much of what we do is deal with people, work with people. Right. Like, I could be technically excellent, but if I can't communicate with the people who I'm working for or working with and understand what they want, or help them to understand what I intend to deliver, that difference, even if I deliver the perfect thing in my mind, maybe exactly what they said, that's not what they think they said. It's of little value to them, much less value than one would think.
Have you ever worked a job where you're afraid to talk to your boss?
I'm sure I have.
Not since I worked at Mystic Lake Casino when I was 18.
Right.
But that's a different. That's a whole other wave in a whole other ocean. Like, that's not since I've been doing this.
Let me ask the question a little bit differently. Have you ever had a person that you've worked with that others considered unapproachable that you didn't have that same problem with?
Oh, yeah, multiple times.
Like, you were able to break down the walls, and
yeah.
I think it's. And it's, I don't know, we talk about empathy a lot, and I've talked about it in respect to lots of things, right? Empathy in respect to the agile process of how we build software, empathy with just how you approach your day, like all of that. And with these folks that are unapproachable, supposedly, I think it's, I think the trick is to just figure out, like, what the hell's going on. Right. I mean, me and Paul, we've got stories of people that we know in common that are historically unapproachable, locally known for being difficult people to work with, that I worked with just fine. I think it's an oversimplification to just say have some empathy for unapproachable people. Also, at the same time, I mean, it's not
necessarily easy to get through that barrier, right?
It is not.
Well, there's a number of situations where I've gone into a customer for the first time, and others warned me about somebody. Watch out for this person, and they give me a whole story, and I don't like letting someone else make a first impression for me. For a third party. Let me meet that person. Let me make a first impression, or get a first impression of that person. It does tell me that I need to be aware and that I might have some work to do. But that's when I run into somebody that's unapproachable, then I try to find a way in. And once I do that, I can build a relationship and IT people, when I used to go into a customer, treat them very, very nicely. It's like, because a lot of times it's their choice whether or not you get good support.
Right. It's historically been a feature or a challenge, right? Like if you go in and you talk to the IT person or the ops person or whatever group you're working with, being open and honest with them, telling them that, I forgot to submit your form. Is there anything we can do? Can I help you with something, and maybe trade some benefits back and forth to help? Okay, I'll submit the form for sure next time and make it happen, and make sure everybody on my team does, and those kinds of things.
You're showing respect for how they roll.
Right.
And, it's like there's a learning curve there to understand that whatever happens, you better have that ticket in, because nothing happens unless it is. They don't. And if you go to them and you ask for something, they're going to send you to the ticketing system and, and not help you because they're not supposed to. Everything gets a ticket. So it's, so I'll go and I'll put the ticket in and make sure it's in there. And then if I run into that person, because I just happen to be in their area,
walking around looking for their cube.
Just walking around. I happen to be in the area because I was going to see them, and drop by and say, "Oh yeah, I just put a ticket in for you guys about something. I forget what it was," and I walk away. But it's like, do you want to like jump in line in front of other people, or no? But it's you want what you need to do your job. And if it's waiting for, you don't want to put a ticket in to get a service account that takes 2 minutes and have it take, so sometimes it's good to have that relationship with that person to where the lines of communication are open and you can express, the urgency of your request, things like that. There's just
sometimes your time is more expensive, right? If you sit on your hands for a week waiting for an account, that's not going to help anybody.
Or you have the conversation ahead of time. Hey, I'm going to need a service account. What's the best way that we could get that?
Right.
Maybe they'll say, hey, I do that on Friday afternoons. I let them stack up for a whole week.
Yep.
If you want to set it out on Friday, I'll do it for you. Sometimes it's as simple as something like that.
I think everything kind of inherently comes back to communication when you're looking at people's skills and all these projects and stuff. And we say that, but I think it's critical. Do you think that groups can have group approachability?
Oh, for sure.
Teams, like,
you mean cliques?
Cliques
I believe cliques exist. I don't know how to fix that. I mean, I don't love like assigned seating at dinners, right? Like that's not the way. It's just natural for people that work together every day to want to be around, those same people. And I don't know. I think cliques exist. I think it's mostly like shared interest more than anything, and familiarity. So I would say to combat that, just like I said, we have our learning communities. We have a lot of tools within STG to avoid being that, right? Being too like cliquey or too whatever, and just recognize people's shared interest. And if you're one of the folks within the company that has been here a while, Paul, Peter, Kyle, actively look out the folks that aren't, right?
Yeah. Introduce yourselves and help
Introduce yourselves. I did that, so tonight we're going to a Saints game. Last year, there was a couple of brand new folks that have just joined, and they were, we saw it, right? There's like little clicky things all over the place.
Yep.
And so I made sure I always had an extra grain belt. It is the friendly beer for a reason. Share a beer or share, something. Find those folks and make it part of your day to include them in what you're doing. And if it's still a problem, next event, well, then that's on them. I think you will, if you make it intentional, especially as you have a little bit of experience at the company, if you make it intentional to grab folks that you don't normally interact with and make them part of your whatever,
right,
it'll go a long way for both of you.
And it's funny, like I remember Bill, one of the former owners of STG, had a very hard time at company meetings because everybody knew who he was and he didn't know who they were. And so if you just make those introductions to him for him, then he seems more approachable because he's very approachable. It's just that he's also very introverted. And so he's not going to go out of his way to meet new people, right?
Yeah. And he's got that barrier, it's like, I don't know these people and I don't want to, because I am the owner, I don't want to not know somebody's name.
Right.
So, it's interesting at those events we would do in person. A lot of times you'd see everybody in the same department sitting together, and it just kind of naturally happens that way because they know each other, they like each other. And it's like, I often would say, okay, you're bunching. You need to spread out. You're bunching. You're like the last 10 Cheerios in the bowl. But I think, making yourself available. If I find a clique or a group I'm having trouble dealing with, breaking into, whatever, I just find one person that I can connect with in that group, and that's where I start. And I don't like to look at people like their cliques, but if you have a team that you need to interact with that's difficult, it does seem like a clique, but maybe it's just they're not who you should be talking to, or they don't have time. You're not talking to the right person on that team. It could be a number of things. And I think you just have to be approachable with those people, and that can rub off on them. 5 minutes, gentlemen. Any parting thoughts?
I think the worst thing you can do at any new experience is to not be approachable. If you put yourself out there, it makes everybody else more at ease, makes them more easy to approach you. You'll find your way in with them as well.
Don't be a jerk. It's good advice all around.
Can't help it though. What if it's just who you are?
That's work then.
I've said it multiple times, but the more people know about you, the more approachable you are. Even if it's simple and really, really stupid things. I think damn near the entire, like I said earlier, damn near the entire company knows, 3 things about me. They know my dog's name. I think more people know my dog's name than my kids' names. Put information. If you're comfortable with it, get that information out there in the communities that you're a part of. And your career at SDG will be, I think my personal opinion is that your experience at our company is going to be enhanced by that.
Right.
For sure. And by extension, your experience in the Minneapolis tech community is going to be better because as consultants, we're everywhere. And unfortunately, people do leave SDG for some reason. But people, you become approachable. People know things about you. People leave. People go other places. You will never have to worry about a job again.
That's right.
That's my parting thought. All right. And that's it.
Way to bring it home.
There's a lot of advantages. By being approachable, you help create an environment that's approachable. You help communication. I think it's problem resolution. I think it's better than not being approachable. I guess that's my parting thought is make all your interactions good ones if you can, and be nice, be kind. Not just nice, be a kind person.
Be kind, rewind.
Receptive and helpful and humble is important. I think humility is a big part of it.
Humility, respect, and trust.
Well said. I think with that, we should say goodbye, gentlemen.
Goodbye, gentlemen.
Goodbye.
And all.
Solution Design Group is a digital product consultancy in Minneapolis. Check us out on the web at solutiondesign.com or look for us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram at Solution Design Group.